Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam.
All right, so this is FIN420, yes, financial management. By the way, can you hear me? Yeah, all right.
Boleh.
Sudah.
Okay,
Yes, can hear you.
right, so before we go through the details of the course, yeah, just a quick reminder maybe, ataupun recap balik lah, how we gonna do in terms of the attendance, um, in terms of where I share the notes. So basically, we will utilize the UFuture punya platform lah. But let me share with you for those yang maybe terlupa. Alright, so we're going to utilize, like I said, fully the UFuture platform. So this is under the cost and financial management. For example, there's one section for the online class. So I will post or I will create maybe the schedule according to ISEP's schedule. For example, today, 11th of April, our first meeting. So this is where we can use or you can access to the Google Meet link. Okay, I will post it here usually. And at the end of the session, once the video ready, I will record every session, by the way. I will share with you the recorded sessions here in the recorded link section. Okay, obviously now it's not available yet lah. Okay, but by the end of the day, maybe I will post it here. And don't forget to record your attendance using this link as well. Under the class attendance, nanti you click view, you'll be given time to record your attendance 15 minutes from starting 15 minutes before the class starts until 15 minutes after, meaning you will have time to record your attendance up until, for today for example, it will be up until 10:45. So for those yang tak record lagi, for example, we can check here by the way. So please, macam ada ni, I tak sure memang tak ada ke tak, but please check your attendance accordingly. And of course, I think dalam apa? In the announcement, also dah the link as well in terms of the attendance. Bila last time ni? Salah group sorry. Here, and you can record your attendance here as well. And on top of the online class and attendance, all the notes, and maybe some past years I shared also dalam group content, okay, under our group NBFO2B, okay, under the group content. Okay, under the group content, I already shared a few topics juga lah under lecture notes and some past year questions. So you can download the notes here lah. Okay, so there's a few things I want to share first. All right, so let's go for some introduction. Okay, financial management, FIN420. By the way, before we move into the content, let me introduce myself. Okay, for those yang never been to my class before. Okay, my name is Mak Faizal Basri, because we have two Faizals here. So my name is Mak Faizal Basri. My background of education, as you can see there, my highest education is from Dar University when I did my PhD there, Islamic Finance. And the rest of my education backgrounds from UITM actually, from my master's, MBA, my degree, and also my diploma last time. Okay, all from UITM. And I used to work in the banking industry before, back in early 2000s, right? And then I joined UITM as a lecturer after I finished my PhD. But for time being, I'm not with UiTM anymore. Okay, I moved to UPSI, Tanjung Malim. All right, so currently I'm attached with UPSI, and that's my contacts lah, my mobile number, and also my email address. Okay, so as I said, most of our communication will be based on UFuture platform in terms of the assignments, in terms of the notes and everything. But yeah, this is alternative mean of communication. Okay, or mode of communication. Okay, so financial management with 3 credit hours. Okay, so this course is designed to enable students to understand the concept of finance. So this is basically the intro. Okay, the introduction of finance for all business degree students. All right. Either you're BA244, which is either you're taking operation management or finance. Some of you may be BBA finance. Okay. For BBA for BBA operation management, you only have 2 finance papers, if I'm not mistaken. So this is one of it, which is financial management. Covers the concepts of how to manage finance for businesses, for corporates. Okay, whereas the other one later maybe is FIN 533, okay, which is personal financial planning. So that's financial management for individual. Okay, that's it. For BBA operation, you have to, but for finance, basically, this will be intro for a lot more financial papers later. Okay, this is just like an introductory. So here you will learn a lot. Okay, it covers quite a range of topics. For example, here we have financial ratios, which we will go through later today. Okay, financial statements, the cash budget, the time value of money, the working capital management, sources of financing, and so on. Capital budgeting. This is our final topic. Okay, this is the details. Okay, of the content of our topic. So for today, we gonna go through. I'll try the first 3 topics. Okay, our first 3 topics ni going to go through today. Okay, for topic number 1, I'll be very brief. Okay, very brief, maybe 10-15 minutes. And then we jump into topic number 2, understanding the financial statements, whereby we're going to go through again. I believe that you've taken accounts before, okay? So this is just a recap, but the difference is in accounting, you've learned how to prepare the statements, but here, basically, we just try to understand what are the items, okay, and the formats. That's it. We don't have to prepare, because these financial statements will be important in terms of as a source source of information for our analysis. So for topic number 3, financial ratios analysis, we need to understand the financial statements before we can prepare the ratios and also to analyze it. Right? So that's our target today. Okay, our objective is to try to finish as much as possible up until topic 3. So then we have topic number 4, okay, financial planning and forecasting. So this will take 1 week alone, 1 session alone, financial planning and forecasting, because we have 2 statements here. And then we have working capital management. So working capital management, topic number 5, is actually introduction. Introduction for topic number 6 and 7. So under working capital management, we have 4 working capitals or 4 current assets management. So the 4 is actually cash, marketable securities, account receivable, and also inventory. So topic number 5 will be the introduction for topic 6 and 7. Okay, and we can finish these 5, 6, 7 in one session. So dah 3 weeks there. And then topic number 8, short-term financing. Okay, so the rest actually we need 1 week each. Okay, short-term financing, long-term financing, capital budgeting, and lastly, mathematics of finance. Some of the topics I might swap in terms of the appearance, maybe macam mathematics of finance, usually I'll do it earlier actually, not that early as first week lah, but mathematics of finance usually I will do it before the capital budgeting, okay, or before short-term financing at least. Okay, so we have 11 topics altogether. We need to fit in our meetings of seven meetings. For our papers, we have 7 meetings. So we try to finish as much as possible in our meeting session. So all of 11 topics, I can say 80% at least, 80 to 85% covers calculation. Okay, a lot of calculations to be remembered. Number one, to go through juga. Only maybe 15 to 20% theory. Okay, for example, topic number 1 ni memang theory. This is all theory. And also topic number 5, this is all theory. And that's about it. There's only 2 parts yang theory. The rest are calculation. But obviously, number 2 ni pun ada partial theory, partial calculations. Alright, any question? Kalau ada soalan, just let me know. Okay, I think the most important part that you want to know by now is actually the assessment. How the marks will be given. Okay, for FIN420, this is one of the papers that we don't have final exam. No final exam, and for the past 2 semesters, no final assessment as well. Okay, because this paper memang, changed too. It used to have final exam before. Last was 2018, but after that, he'll be considered under non-final exam paper. So the 100% it comes all from the ongoing assessments. Okay, so how we distribute the 100%? We will have 2 tests, test 1 and test 2, 15% each. So the test will be 30% in total. Okay, the test element, 30%. So the first test will cover the earlier parts. The second test will cover the second part of our syllabus. Okay, if we go back to here, our first test usually will cover the first 4. Okay, the first 4 topic. In fact, walaupun they cover the first 4, usually the first 3 I will not include it in our first test. So first test basically here. This will cover our first test, financial planning and forecasting. Because the first 3 we're going to do a group assignment kat sini. Okay. So group assignment tu sebenarnya kat sini dia. This part yang 30%. This is group assignment. So 30% and test 30%. So our first test, like I said, is from topic number 4. Okay, so for topic 5, 6, 7, this is usually will be individual assignment. Okay, so the rest of this is either test 2 plus additional assignment maybe. Okay, if necessary lah. So short-term financing, long-term financing, capital budgeting, and also mathematics of finance. So actually 8, 9, 10, 11 is quite a lot kalau nak buat all in test 2. So maybe I split a bit or test the second test, and some maybe masuk dalam additional assignments. Okay, because assignment we have 20%, and the group presentation actually relates together with this case study. Okay, so as you can see here, our group assignment quite quite heavy in terms of the weights. Okay, 30% comes from the reports of your group project, and on top of that, you need to present it. Okay, so since we are even before pun, we don't have time to do presentation in class pun before. So what I'll do for group presentation, usually it will involve video. You need to record a video presentation, and that will give you 20%. Okay, so the group assignment kalau you nampak tadi is from here kan. So topic 1 to 3 is important because of this. And if you can see the weights, the combined weight for that topics alone 1 to 3 is actually 50% of it. Okay, 30% of the the written reports, and 20% comes from video presentation. Okay, so that's how we distribute. Not I and distribute, but basically this is from the coordinator. This is how they decided to distribute the weights. So 30% tests, 50% from group projects, and 20% from individual efforts. So 100% lah from here. Okay, so that's some introduction to the course. Okay, ada soalan so far? Boleh Okay. So without further ado, so dah 20 minutes saya just nak tanya apa? About case study. Case study tu is a group project actually. A group project whereby you be split into smaller groups, obviously. Usually I will set at least 4 lah, about 4 in a group. Okay, so we will analyze. Okay, kalau you perasan I set tadi for the group project, it will cover from topic 1 to 3, which is about financial ratios and analysis. So the project or the case study is actually to study the performance of companies in Malaysia, okay, using financial ratios and analysis. So you will, like I said, you'll be split into smaller groups, okay, for usually the best is 4 lah, but it depends on the number of students, because in this group kalau tadi I tengok ada 19 for example, so it will not be even lah. So some groups maybe have 5 maybe, but most of you will have 4, right? And what you need to do is to analyze companies. You need to choose companies, and what you need to do is to download later on. I will explain in details when the time is come. After we finish topic number 3, then we can discuss in details what you need to do with the group project. But as an maybe just tease a bit with the content, you need to analyze companies. Okay, and those companies and you select must come from the same industry. Okay, so for example, banking. So you're gonna choose, let's say kalau you ada 4 orang dalam group, so you need to choose 4 companies within the banking industry. Each one take 1 company lah, right? And then you need to analyze based on the financial ratios and analysis new topic that we will go through later on today. Okay, so you need to calculate first of all the financial ratios, and then comment on the performance based on that ratios. Okay, so dalam topic number 3 later, you will see lah, there are 2 elements. First is the calculation parts, which is the ratio, and second, how to analyze it. So dalam my notes, so ada everything in terms of the formulas, and at the bottom of every formula, you will see how to analyze it, how to comment on the ratio itself. So that will be the guideline for you lah. Guideline for you to how to complete the project later on. And once you complete the reports though, because you need to submit is in written format. Okay, nowadays meaning you need to submit in PDF form lah. You need to submit in PDF form, and that's the 30% of it. So the additional 20% comes from presentation. So you need to present your finding basically. So use your creativity how to present it. WhatsApp group. So far tak ada lagi I just shared my phone number tadi. So if you want to create, please do so. If you want, you can add me if you want dalam WhatsApp group tu. Okay, so yeah, back to the project tadi. So you just need to present lah. You can share. Maybe you can create, sebab selalunya when we do analysis, we need to, for easier reference lah, for readers, kita boleh buat dalam bentuk charts, kan? So the performance of company tu kita boleh present in chart format. So you can present nantilah based on performance from chart, the trend analysis, comparative between companies. Okay, that's how we do it lah. Okay, by the way nanti once the time untuk buat assignment and presentation tu sampai, I will share with you the instruction. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, ada lagi soalan? Okay, kalau tak ada, let's look at topic number 1. Okay, topic number 1, like I said, I can go through very fast because I hope you can read this on your own sebab we don't have time actually. But for today, like I said, I try to finish 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so topic number 1 ni memang all theory. So just a bit about intro, what is finance is all about. Okay, dalam finance, dia interrelated lah between the company and also the financial markets. Okay, so that's why we want to link ataupun to relate what are the purpose of financial markets towards and together with the business organization. So remember this financial management focus on business entities. Okay, how to manage finance for business entities. I know not every one of you might end up ataupun currently attached with finance department, for example, ataupun sit in the finance department. But somehow finance knowledge, okay, can assist you, can give you, easy understanding and can communicate well with the finance department if you're from other departments lah. Okay, so this is the definition of finance. It can be defined as the art and science of managing money. So when we said managing money, so we are not looking from the point of managing money when we have money je. Okay, because generally we need to manage finance when we don't have the money also. Okay, so this is the position that we're gonna have. Okay, first is when we have surplus. Second, when we are in the deficit position. Here we have two scenarios here. Surplus and deficit. What does it mean by surplus? Meaning we have extra money. Okay, so if we have extra money, what we need to do? Right, so that's one thing of managing money lah. Yang kita nampak selalunya when we have money, how to manage money. But at the same time, when we are in the deficit position, when we have less money ataupun low level of cash, for example, so we need to manage that as well. Okay, so that's why in finance, we are tackling both positions. When we are surplus, what we need to do, remember when we surplus, we have extra cash, for example. So what we need to do, basically, we need to invest. Okay, we need to invest. So this is where we talk about how to allocate financial resources effectively. Where to invest. Okay, contohnya. And for deficit, we have low cash lah, for example, ataupun insufficient cash. So when we are in this position, low cash ataupun insufficient cash, we need to manage in terms of financing. Where to get our financing from, how to obtain the best possible financing sources. Okay, so both we will discuss throughout the semesters. When we are in the surplus positions and when we are in the deficit positions. Okay, so that's the purpose ataupun what's the importance of finance. Okay, which is to cover both parts, which is surplus and also deficit. And obviously, like I said, importance of learning finance because the integration integrate between other departments. Okay, and obviously deal with financial decisions. This is where we will discuss a lot lah, which cover both parts. Investment, whereby when we talk about investment, we talk about how to come up with new products, how to invest in terms of new machineries, for example, to invest in capital assets. And when we are low in cash, this is where we discuss about borrowing. Okay, when we talk about borrowing, is it short-term ataupun long-term basis? What kind of products we want to issue in terms of financing? We can issue stocks or debts, for example. Instead of borrowing directly from the banks, we have alternatives, for example. So what the alternatives includes issuing stocks and debts. Don't worry about all the terms kalau you tak familiar. We will discuss this throughout the semesters. Okay, but this is all that we will learn throughout the semester, which is both parts lah, surplus and deficit. Okay, so for those who work in non-financial background, okay, obviously will benefit a lot lah, because you can interact now more effectively with the finance department. Therefore, you can present your ideas, argue your positions, not argue in a bad way, maknanya you discuss more effectively lah with the finance department, whereby you can present, okay, let's say you're in, I don't know, procurement department maybe, whereby your job in procurement department is to procure assets lah, for example. So if you know a bit about finance, you can present, okay, why we choose this company to procure because of this and reason. Yeah, ada a lot of reason. Most of it selalunya melibatkan finance. Sebab finance selalunya concern about cost. Okay, about cost. So if you know about finance a bit, okay, then you can interact, like I said lah, effectively with the finance department and to lay down your case in order to procure. Contohnya kalau you procurement department lah, sama jugalah kalau you in marketing department ke, or in any non-financial department, then you can communicate well with the finance people. Okay, maybe last part lah dalam topik number 1 ni. Remember I said earlier, we might have surplus position ataupun deficit. So, where ataupun how we want to to do about when we are in these two positions. So selalunya kita akan ada orang tengah between surplus and deficit positions. So the intermediaries can come from these two. Okay, I letak short form ni je lah. We have FI, financial institutions, and we have FM in the middle, financial markets. So financial institutions in Malaysia selalunya senang lah. The most important institution would be banks. Okay, banks, and banks ni pun ada banyak. You can see commercial. Okay, the commercial ni inclusive of Islamic bank as well lah. Islamic banks. You also have investment bank. Okay, those with investment in the name. Kalau macam contohnya Maybank, we have Maybank Investment. CIMB, we have CIMB Investment, for example. So we have investment arm ataupun investment banks, subsidiaries of the commercial banks. Okay, so these two are the common ones lah. Okay, for the banks ataupun financial institutions, even though we have many more, but we just focus on these two. Okay, and what they do for banks, okay, they will be the intermediary, orang tengah, for the two parties. So who are the two parties? Those with surplus and those with deficit lah. These are the two parties, and both parties can go to the bank. Okay, so for surplus parties, so what they do with the bank, or financial institution for the banks, selalunya dia akan deposit. When they have surplus, they will deposit to the financial institutions. Okay, so that's why financial institution is an intermediary. Okay, so dia akan terima deposit. Okay, deposit can come from many forms kan. So for those yang kerja dengan bank, you know lah, deposit can be savings account, current account, fixed deposits. Okay, they will channel to the financial institutions. So those with surplus akan invest their money in the bank. Okay, in the form of, like I said lah, savings account, current account ataupun fixed deposits. And these financial institutions yang intermediary ni, letak block kat sini contohnya, dia akan pull the money from the deposits and dia akan channel this to the deficit units. Okay, the channel in the what form? Dia akan channel in the form of financing. Okay, financing apa? Business loans, hire purchase for example. Okay, term loans for businesses. So dia akan channel back to the deficit people, those yang ada low cash ataupun insufficient funds, okay, in the form of financing. So all of this come from financial institutions. So that's really important to understand the middleman here. Okay, the channel the deposit from individuals ataupun businesses or even the governments and turns into loans ataupun financing to the deficit units. So that's one thing, financial institutions. Alternatively, we have another instruments lah. Besides financial institutions, besides banks, we have financial markets juga. Okay, so financial markets open up a lot more options. Okay, but function-wise, financial institution and financial market, they still considered as a middleman. Okay, cuma dalam financial markets, we have two market. Dia ada banyak sebenarnya, tapi we just focus on two key financial markets, which is money market and also capital market. So the difference between money and capital market is this part, whereby money market involves short-term instruments. Okay, for capital market, dia more towards long-term. So when I said short-term, selalunya transaction dia berlaku less than 1 year. Okay, the maturity of the instruments tu selalunya less than 1 year. So anything more than 1 year, dia akan berlaku dalam capital market. Okay, dia berlaku dalam capital market. So what are these markets? Okay, so kalau bank tadi, dia selalunya melibatkan financing. Okay, pinjaman. But for financial markets, dia melibatkan instruments, jual beli, buy and sell of instruments. What kind of instrument? Financial instruments. Okay, financial instruments. So dia jual securities in the market. So kalau short term ni, okay, short term ataupun money market ni, selalunya dia melibatkan marketable securities. So this is one of the terms that you need to familiar with marketable securities. So dalam Malaysia, contoh-contoh marketable securities mostly ataupun I can say lah, a lot relates with the government securities. So you will see items like Malaysian government securities. Hilang lagi. Securities ataupun in short MGS. Okay, kita ada Malaysian Islamic Treasury Bill, MITB. Okay, Malaysian Islamic Treasury Bill for Islamic. So how these marketable securities traded? So we go back to this surplus and deficit. Okay, cuma bezanya kat sini. These marketable securities ataupun instruments in either money market ataupun capital market, dia akan dijual. Okay, dia akan start from deficit party ni. They will sell instruments. Okay, dia akan start from deficit party. Still deficit, who are deficit? Those with short of funds ataupun insufficient funds. Okay, what they do, dia akan, kalau dalam bahasa Melayu dia kata terbitkan ataupun they will create an instruments. Okay, instrument ni by the way is just a piece of paper je, securities je, certificate je sebenarnya. Katakanlah tadi MGS, government needs money. Okay, we're talking about, like I said, kita ada 3 parti ni, individual, businesses and government. So let's say lah, the deficit comes from government. Government needs funding. They don't have enough cash, so they need money. So dia boleh jual securities instruments. So what they do, they will sell instruments, go through financial market. So financial market ni akan jadi platform di mana all the instruments akan dijual, either money market ataupun capital market. Let's say tadi I bagi example, government needs money for 6 months. Okay, so dia jual MGS, Malaysian Government Securities, via financial market. So dalam case ni is the money market. So those who have surplus, okay, what they do, they will invest in the financial market by buying. Okay, dia akan belilah all the instruments yang dijual in this financial market. So the money flows from this lah, still from surplus, dia akan go through financial markets, and the deficit akan terima that so-called fund from the sales of the instruments. And in return, sama juga, the deficit will have to pay back lah nanti to the buyer together with the profits to the surplus parts ataupun surplus parties. So that's how the money flows from surplus to deficit. So FI dengan FM ni will be the middle ataupun the channel untuk flowkan the money from surplus to deficit. Imagine kalau tak ada FI FM ni, so how the surplus money nak dapat income and how the deficit money to borrow money basically. How dia nak dapatkan pinjaman. So this FIFM basically as an effective channel lah, okay, ataupun more proper, channel between surplus and deficit function. Okay, so the rest nanti tolong baca lah. So that's the idea of finance is all about. Basically, the flow. Okay, the flow between the surplus and the deficit. Okay. Now, you dah understand the concept of finance, how to manage. When the company have more money, dia kena decide kat mana nak invest, either nak pergi bank, nak deposit sahaja, atau can go to the financial market to purchase instruments. And similarly, kalau company ni have shortage of funds, dia perlu pinjam, you can go to the bank juga untuk buat pinjaman, or can go into the financial markets to sell instruments. Okay, everything has a pro and cons, obviously. So kita akan go through into the details about the pros and cons when we go to the respective topics about financing, about capital budgeting, about investment. So kita akan go through later about that. Okay, so for the next topic number 2, okay, ni akan go through lama sikit lah. How to analyze the positions of the company. Kita nak tengok company punya position, is it good or bad? Is it they have surplus or deficit? Okay, so we need to understand first the performance and the position of the companies. Okay, that's why in topic number 3 later, kita akan analyze the company based on financial ratios. But before we can actually calculate the financial ratios, we need to understand the source first. Okay, so that's why here dia ada banyak kat sini, but for today I akan focus on the first 2 ni je. Okay, the balance sheet and also the income statement. So these 2 will be the raw material lah, I can say. Okay, ataupun source of information for our analysis later. Okay, because when we want to do the financial ratios analysis, kita akan refer to these 2 statements. Okay, and this is what you need to extract for your group project later. So these 2 information, as you all know, can be extracted from annual reports. Okay, dalam annual reports of every company, you can find these 2 information. So therefore, for your projects later, once you dah form your groups, you dah choose your companies, the next step later on nanti, you can extract financial information. And where to get this financial information? From annual reports. And every public listed companies, their annual reports, you will access easily from their websites. Okay, so that's why nanti, when you want to do your case study for the group project, I always recommend you to choose companies yang public listed sahaja. Okay, public listed, how to know public listed? Those with Berhad companies lah. Yang ada Berhad status ni. Okay, you just choose companies yang Berhad company. because all of their financial information you boleh access freely from their websites. Okay, you don't have to go to the company pun untuk dapatkan information, right? So key financial statement represent raw material, as macam saya cakap tadi when we want to do the financial analysis, financial ratio analysis. So we have number one, the balance sheet. Okay, statement of accounting equation. But nowadays, we have another name for it. So kalau you buka annual reports nowadays, nama dia adalah statement of financial position. Okay, statement of financial position. So you mungkin tak nampak the word the balance sheet dalam annual reports anymore, but this is the classical terms lah, the balance sheets. So you need to know jugalah the classical terms. In some countries still gunakan the balance sheets. So why the balance sheets? So dia ada word balance kan. So dia akan balance kan between two elements ataupun two parts. Okay, we have assets on the one side and then liabilities and equities on the other. Okay, so traditionally when we say balance sheet, dia akan nampak macam T account. Okay, T account, you have assets kat sini, one side. Okay, on the other side, balanced by, all of these assets will be balanced by liabilities and equity. Okay, so these two parts must be balanced. When I said balance, meaning the value must be equal between the two parts. Okay, and as I said earlier tadi, don't worry about preparing sebab you dah belajar ni dalam accounts to prepare the balance sheet. Okay, but for us, we are focusing more on the analysis part. But before analysis, kena understand lah the terms ataupun the items dalam statement of financial positions. Okay, so this consider the snapshot of the company. By looking at the balance sheet ni ataupun the statement of financial position ni, kita dah boleh dapat bayangan dah actually how will be the current positions of the company. Okay, one thing that we can easily see is the level of debt, hutang liability ni hutang we can see the level of debt versus equity by just looking from the balance sheet. Sebab dalam balance sheet kita ada aset satu, katakanlah kalau aset dia worth 10 million ringgit ataupun senang 100 million. Okay, katakan if the company has 100 million worth of assets, we need to know this 100 million come from which parts? Liabilities ke equity? As I said, liability ni hutang, debts. And equity ni will be contributors from the shareholders. Okay, ataupun shareholders own fund. Right? And this value mesti 100 million juga. Total kan? So out of this 100 million, berapa persen actually comes from equity, berapa persen come from liability daripada hutang. So kalau company tu terlalu bergantung dengan hutang, this liabilities part will be high, will be a lot kat sini. From 100 million katakanlah kat sini, I don't know, 60 million. So total liability is 60 million. So kalau liability 60 million, automatically our equity will be 40 million. So if this is the case, we can conclude, okay, by looking at this, kita dah nampak snapshot dia. Snapshot ni macam gambaran awal of the company, that this company has a lot of debt. Dia ada 60 million worth of liabilities for this 100 million of assets. So maknanya, walaupun aset dia 100 juta, 60% of it, 60 out of 100 is 60% kan? So 60% of the assets are from liabilities, adalah bergantung kepada hutang. So it's not a strong position kalau dia bergantung kepada hutang. Kalau ada satu lagi company, which is the position terbalik katakan, liabilities 40%, equity 60%, then we can say, okay, dia less reliant on debts, contohnya. So that's the importance of statement of financial position. Okay, boleh memberi snapshot of the position of the company just by looking at the statement je, just one statement. Tak tengok in detail lagi, just tengok overview pun kita dah boleh nampak. So that's number one. Kita akan go into detail kejap lagi balance sheet. Number two is the income statement. ataupun in UK selalu dia bagi P&L account, Profit and Loss accounts, okay, P&L in short. And similar like balance sheet tadi, dia ada alternative name juga. Nama alternatif dia is Statement of Financial Performance. Okay, kalau balance sheet tadi, Statement of Financial Position, here the Statement of Financial Performance. Okay, but dalam annual reports, most companies still you gunakan the income statement lah. Dia mesti menggunakan perkataan income statement. Alright, so for income statement, explain the movement between two balance sheet in terms of profits. Okay, so dia akan go through two parts. First, the top parts dia akan discuss about the income, the revenues, and dia akan deduct all the relevant expenses. Okay, so at the end kita nak tengoklah sama ada company ni profits ataupun tidak. Okay, so on top of the two, we have additional statements lah. Kita ada cash flows. Alright, dalam annual report pun ada cash flows, but for us today kita takkan go through financial cash flow statement lah. So nama pun cash flow So dia akan explain the movement related to cash movement sahaja. Dia akan record every cash transaction sahaja. So dia sebenarnya ada satu lagi, kalau dalam annual report so nanti dia ada satu lagi elemen which is kita panggil dia notes to account, kalau tak salah nama terms notes to account. So dalam setiap sections of the annual reports, dalam balance sheet, dalam income statement, even dalam cash flows, dia mungkin letak notes kat tepi tu So notes ni akan explain in details what actually the items punya transactions tu. Sebab dalam statement tu dia just lump everything together. Contohnya dalam balance sheet dia ada tulis itu dalam section of assets, marketable securities contohnya. So dalam marketable securities tu ada satu value. But if you want to know what are the items under marketable securities, dia ada letak note. Selepas marketable securities, katakan note dia number 5. Okay, so kalau nak tengok details apa ada dalam marketable securities, so go into notes to account, number 5, and then dekat belakang dia, nanti you akan see details of the items dalam tu. Okay, so yang dekat depan, dalam balance sheet, income statement, everything is actually summary sahaja. Okay, if you want to know in details, you have to go to the notes to the accounts. So notes dalam account still in the annual report as well. Okay. So now we go back to the balance sheet. Okay, so firm's balance sheet shows the financial position. Okay, nama dia pun tadi pun statement financial position kan. At one point, okay, dia akan pilih satu dates. And usually it will be the last day of calendar, not necessarily last day of calendar, selalunya at the end of the financial year. End of financial year. Okay, at the end of financial year of a company. So usually company punya financial year end, it can be 31st of December, obviously. Some maybe end in June, 30th of June. Ada je yang akan end in March, for example, 31st of March. Okay, it depends. So tak ada betul ataupun salah kat sini. It all depends on the company. And when we say, okay, katakan the financial year end is 31st of December, we know it will cover 1 year. Mana tadi dia akan records for 1 year's punya amount lah. Okay. Ini kalau 31st December, maknanya dia akan start from 1st January until 31st of December, that particular year. So kalau June, dia akan start from previous year lah. 1st of July, yalah, 1st of July 2019 until 30th of June 2020, for example. Okay, dia punya amount tu still akan cover 1 year. Okay, and as I said, it will summarize the firm's resources in the form of assets, and it will balance against liabilities, which is the debts, and equity, which is the ownership ataupun the shareholders punya portion. Okay, the contribution towards the company's punya position. Okay, so this will be the equation yang kena ingat. And we have balance sheets. Dia ada 3 elements, but assets will be on the one side. This will be, the question will be what we have. Okay, and it will be funded by 2 parts, the debt, liabilities, and also owner's equity. Okay, so under assets, kalau tulis kat sini lah under assets, macam ni, dia ada 2 parts. Okay, there are 2 categories lah under assets. The first category will be the current assets. Okay, current assets. So current assets basically assets that can be managed and converted into cash within 1 year. Okay, apa maksud current asset? It can be acquired or converted into cash within 1 year. Okay, so under current assets, the first category ni items like cash, for example, items like account receivable, items like marketable securities, inventories. So all of those can be acquired or can be converted into cash easily within 1 year. Okay, nanti in details what are the items saya tunjuk lepas ni. So the second categories of assets would be long term, ataupun sometimes known as non-current asset. Okay, we have current and non-current ataupun sometimes is known as long-term assets. Long-term lah, bukan long-term sorry. We use the term fixed assets. Okay, so the definition of fixed asset, the opposite of this one lah. Okay. So basically, it can be acquired or converted into cash more than 1 year. Okay, so untuk fixed ataupun non-current ni, so nak acquire, for example, when we talk about machineries, about motor vehicles, about land. So kalau kita nak acquire this asset, dia tak boleh nak acquire within short term. Okay, sometimes kita kena acquire in long term. Contohnya kalau motor vehicle kita ambil hire purchase. Okay, hire purchase 5 tahun, 7 years, 9 years. Okay, contohnya lah. So dia akan records dalam the fixed assets. Okay, land, buildings. Those are fixed assets. So the combination of the two, current and fixed, will be the total assets. So bila kita combine the current and fixed, kita akan dapat what we call as the total assets. So the whole assets ni kita akan dapatkanlah the value as a total assets. And based on the equation, as you can see, it will be balanced by the 2 parts. So untuk liabilities, okay, dia pun ada 2 kategori. We have still current juga, dipanggil current liabilities. Kalau tadi current assets here it's current liabilities. So here we are referring to debt. Hutang due within 1 year. So for current liabilities, anything considered as debt or liabilities that due within 1 year. Okay, hutang jangka pendek lah basically. Right, you need to settle within 1 year. And the second category is, this is long term. Okay, long-term liabilities. You can use the word non-current liabilities as well. Okay, if you want, but mostly kita guna long-term lah. So current is short-term. Kalau long-term, anything yang due similar like before lah, more than 1 year. Okay, more than 1 year. So kalau you ada hutang dengan bank, the term loans that payable within 24 months, contohnya 2 tahun, so dia akan masuk ke dalam ni, long term. Okay, kalau company issue bond, for example, for 10 years, pun dia akan masuk ke dalam ni, long term liabilities. Okay, and lastly, at owner's equity. So equity, dia tak ada kategori lah, just owner equity. So it represents the ownership of the companies. So let's look into details. What are the items under this? Basically ada 5 lah. So ada 4 categories for each asset and liabilities. Then we have equity. So ada 5 categories lah kalau you nak tengok items to belong to which category. Current asset, fixed assets, current liabilities, long-term liabilities, or it can be part of equity. Okay, so we have 5 categories kat sini. So dalam, tapi kita dah tak ada final exam tapi last time lah, in the final exam ataupun in test before, this is how the format will look like in terms of the balance sheet. Okay, there are the assets on one side and then liabilities and equities on the others. So under assets, as I said, dia ada 2 kategori, current and fixed. So you boleh tambah kat sini aku items yang ada dalam current assets, termasuklah first selalunya cash. Cash memang akan jadi top of it. Paling penting lah cash. So cash ni can be on hand ataupun in hand ataupun dalam bank ataupun dalam cash vaults, for example. Alright. So mana-mana lah, dalam bank ataupun dalam tangan. Okay, so that's cash. And then the second example under current assets, we have marketable securities. So what does it mean by marketable securities? Dalam financial market tadi ada explain. Marketable securities is actually short-term investment. Okay, ST ni short-term investment. So as a company, okay, if you don't want to keep cash a lot, you can turn the cash into marketable securities. Meaning you belilah instruments in the money market usually money market, sebab money market if you remember involve short term kan. So dia boleh invest dalam short term investment in the money market as a form of marketable securities. So you boleh liquidate early, you boleh dapat balik funds you cepat, and kalau you terpaksa you can sell it off in the financial markets easily in order to get cash. Okay, so that's why the terms current assets tadi can be acquired ataupun turn into cash within 1 year. So maknanya very liquid. Okay, senang je nak jual untuk dapatkan balik your funding. Alright, so the third one here, we have account receivable. So what does it mean by account receivable? Account receivable means if you do sales, okay, bila you jual your products and do sales, but your customer pay by credit. Bukan credit card maksudnya ialah macam credit card jugalah. Dia berhutang. Okay, dia deferred payment. So for example, I sell my goods to my customer. My customer will only pay me next month ataupun 2 months from now. Contohnya. So that amount akan park dalam account receivable. Okay, kalau customer bayar immediately, dia masuk cash kan. So kita jual, customer bayar cash ataupun bayar tunai, dia masuk dalam cash punya parts lah. Tapi kalau customer berhutang dengan kita, dia akan masuk dalam account receivable. So account receivable ni punya value ni, it can be high because of 2 factors lah. Satu, sebab kita allow customer kita bayar hutang. Satu lagi, sebab customer bayar lambat. And that will cause our account receivable to be bigger because of that 2 reasons. Okay, besides account receivable, we also have inventories. Okay, kalau kita involve in trading, the stocks tu, barang-barang yang kita simpan dalam inventory, dalam stocks, akan masuk dalam kita punya parts of current assets lah. Okay, current assets. And satu lagi, here we have prepaid expenses. Okay, perbelanjaan yang dibayar upfront. Okay, the terms prepaid ni boleh faham kot, kita bayar upfront. We pay first, we use it later. Okay, just like mobile phone kan, kalau siapa yang pakai prepaid, you bayar dulu RM50, then you utilize sampai ujung bulan nanti. And then bila ujung bulan nanti you reload balik. Okay, so prepaid expenses ni sama lah konsep dia, you pay upfront. For example, I always use this example lah. If the company rent a lot ataupun a shop lot untuk their operations. Okay, and company ni rental untuk shop lot ni dia bayar upfront untuk setahun. Sekarang baru bulan April. Kan? Tapi dia dah bayar untuk sepanjang tahun. Okay, so that value kalau dia nak buat accounts dia akan masuk dalam prepaid expenses. Okay, expenses yang belum berlaku lagi sepatutnya bulan 5 sampai bulan 12 belum berlaku lagi. But you already paid sampai hujung tahun the rental. So from May until December, amount tu you akan masukkan dalam prepaid expenses. Okay, you will be part of your prepaid expenses. You pay the expenses upfront. Okay, so that's the current assets. For the fixed assets, I dah bagi tahu tadi yang kita akan require more than 1 year. So we have plant and machinery, land and building, maybe boleh tambah example lain, motor vehicles. Pun masuk kat sini jugalah. Okay, as part of fixed assets. Aset tetap Aset tetap. So combine dapatlah total assets. On the right side, we have liabilities. Current liabilities. The first part. We have the first one here, account payable. So kalau you perasan, we have account receivable tadi, receivable. Here we have payable. So account payable is actually the opposite of account receivable. Kalau account receivable tadi, meaning our customer owe us money. We sell our goods to our customer owe us money. Dia akan bayar next month contohnya. For account payable, dia switch position. So here we are the one yang pinjam ataupun beli barang tapi kita tak bayar lagi. Okay, meaning here under account payable, we purchase goods from our supplier. Okay, and we will only pay them next month or 2 months from now, contohnya. Okay, those akan ada dalam account payable. We are expect to pay someone. That's why it's called payable. Payable. Next, we have notes payable. Okay, so the key is actually notes kat sini. So what does it mean by notes? Notes here means short-term loans. Okay, ataupun short-term financing. Alright, so we have a loan with a bank for 6 months, for example. So dia akan masuk dalam notes payable lah. Okay, and lastly here, accruals, atau sometimes also known as accrued expenses. So accrued expenses is the opposite of prepaid expenses. Kalau prepaid tadi you pay upfront, so accrued means you haven't pay for your expenses yet. So I use the same example. Katakan tadi prepaid ni I use rental kan, whereby you pay upfront for the whole year. So those yang belum berlaku lagi, May onwards will be under prepaid expenses. But for accrued expenses, sekarang dah bulan April. Okay, katakanlah you tak bayar lagi the rental for February and March, for example. Together with this month. April pun tak bayar juga. So meaning, under accrued expenses, you have 3 months unpaid rental yang you tak bayar lagi. So dia akan masuk dalam accruals ataupun accrued expenses. So it is part of current liabilities yang you kena settle within 1 year. Okay, dia bukan jangka panjang, dia jangka pendek. So therefore you kena settle ni all dia punya maturity kena dalam tempoh 1 tahun maximum. Okay, so that's current liabilities. So untuk long term liabilities, patutnya ada kategori kat sini lah long term liabilities ataupun long term debt ni. So kadang-kadang dia guna terms long term debts. Okay, kadang-kadang dia boleh guna other terms, item like bonds. Okay, bonds pun long term liabilities. Mortgage pun boleh masuk dalam long term liabilities. Hire purchase. Pun will be part of long-term liabilities. And all of this is due more than 1 year. Okay, 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. Okay, it will be part of long-term liabilities. Okay, so I can say this is our first category, second, this is third, and fourth would be long-term liabilities. So the final part would be equity. This is the fifth. Okay, so we have items like common stocks, preferred stocks, and also retained earnings. Sometimes they may use capital kat sini. Okay, capital pun boleh masuk dekat dalam ni. So what the difference? So common stock is represent ownership. Okay, I tak nak cerita detail lah common stocks ni. Tapi those yang you nampak traded in Bursa Malaysia, okay, you nak beli share orang cakap beli share dekat company A, company B, company C, that's common stocks. Whereby you are actually the owner. Okay, if you own the common stocks, alright, you are actually the owner of the company. Right? Tengok berapa banyak stocks yang you ada lah. Kalau you ada sikit je, you akan jadi minority shareholders. But for those yang own a lot of shares dalam company tu, they are considered the majority ataupun the one yang akan control the company. Right? And then we have preferred juga, preferred stock. So preferred stock ni dia hybrid. They are not the owner of the company, tapi dia ada share dalam company tu dan akan dapat dividen juga. Okay, common stockholders akan dapat dividen, preferred stockholders pun akan dapat dividen, cuma beza between the two, preferred stockholders dividen dia fix. Okay, so the dividends are fixed, so dia tak ada owner ataupun tak ada ownerships on the profits of the company. Okay, yang ada ownership on the profits, keuntungan syarikat hanyalah common stockholders. And we also have here retained earnings. So retained earnings here refers to accumulated profits lah. Accumulated profits. So macam ni lah. Company setiap tahun akan terima net profit. Keuntungan syarikat, net profits. Okay. So for this net profit, company akan distribute into two parts. Dia akan bayar dividen. Okay, dia akan bayar dividen to the shareholders. So siapa yang shareholders yang akan dapat ni lah, common stock dengan preferred stocks akan dapat dividen. Tapi kalau company tu untung 10 million contohnya, 10 million, takkan dia nak bayar dividen semua 10 million kepada shareholders. No, they will keep some for their business. So daripada 10 million ni maybe dia bayar dividen, let's say 3 million je. Okay, 3 million dia bayar shareholders. From this 10 million, dia akan distribute 3 million to the shareholders in the form of dividend. So what's happened to the balance of 7 million? So 7 million ni dia akan masuk ataupun dia akan simpan dalam this retained earning. So retained ni macam reserve lah, reserve. Contohnya kat sini 7 million. So 7 million from the profits ni dia akan keep in the business in the form of retaining. So dia akan simpan lah as a capital. So kalau company ni perlu investment, dia boleh guna retaining dia as a reserve. Okay, untuk operations, banyak function lah retaining ni boleh guna untuk banyak functions. For your operations, for your next investments. So katakanlah next year tak ada dividen, tak ada profits. Next year, tahun ni untung 10 juta, tapi tahun depan ataupun tahun ni tahun lepas, katakanlah tahun lepas still dapat profit 10 million. But tahun ni because of COVID-19 rugi pula contohnya. Okay, so kalau rugi tapi nak bayar dividen juga, they can use retaining untuk bayar dividen contohnya. So a lot of functions lah the retained earning. Okay, so this is the balance sheet, and like I said, in real life, nama dia is this one, statement of financial position. And dalam statement of financial position, you akan nampak ada dua segmen, groups dengan bank, and then dia akan bagi 2 tahun. Saya set tadi 2010, dalam kes ni 2010-2009 lah. So setiap tahun punya annual reports tu dia akan, statement tu dia akan represent 2 years. Dia akan bagi 2 tahun punya data. Okay. And this is the note I cakap tadi. Note to account tadi kan dia ada numbering kat ni 4, 5, 6 whatever. So if you want to know in details, contohnya kat dalam ni securities held for trading nombor 6. Kat sini kita tak tahu apa securities yang dia held kan. So pergi notes dekat nombor 6 dekat belakang, then you can see in detail apa items under securities. Alright, cuma ni bank lah. This is Kuwait Finance House. So statement dia mungkin berbeza daripada company-company yang lain. So that's why later on for your project, group project, I don't encourage you to pick ataupun to choose banks. Use other industries. Okay, kita ada banyak industries yang lain. Okay, please try to avoid using bank lah. Okay, bukan tak boleh sebab items dalam asset ni tak sama macam apa yang company lain ada. Sebab banks, as you all know, nature the difference. The items ada yang similar, tapi ada banyak juga yang tak sama. So, I suggest you to choose other industries. So, nantilah bila selection tu nanti I explain. Ataupun I share with you the type of industries yang available. Okay, but kalau tadi, kat sini, sorry, you nampak dia macam T accounts. Okay, assets on one side, liability and equity on the other side. Tapi in the actual punya statements, you akan nampak format dia more like a vertical format. Okay, assets dekat atas, and then liabilities and equities at the bottom. Okay, kalau tadi side by side, horizontal, here dia vertical format. Okay, but still dia akan segregate between assets. Macam ni contohnya asset dia 10 billion ni, 10.9. Okay, dia punya total liabilities and equity pun 10.9. Okay, bila you nampak nanti untuk buat analisis later on, you nampak group dengan bank, nak guna yang mana? So, most of the time kita akan buat based on group lah. Sebab sometimes item dalam bank ni tak ada. Dia bukan bank kan, kadang-kadang bank sebab ni bank kan, tapi kadang-kadang group. Kalau ada satu lagi tu, dia letak sini company. Okay, so we gonna use the group punya information. Sebab group punya information lagi banyak lah, dia lagi complete as compared to bank. Okay, boleh ke? Lama juga cakap ni. Okay, maybe before we go into the second parts of the statement, the income statement tu, kita take short break kejap lah. Kita break kejap, 5 minit. Before we go through the income statement pula. Okay, so let's take 5. Alright. Let's move on with. Okay, by the way, balance sheet tadi kat belakang ni dia punya notes ni. Okay, what we've discussed earlier lah. The categories macam ni lah, current assets. So here's some examples. Okay, can be converted into cash with the money. Everything is here, so you boleh check balik nanti. The non-current ataupun fixed. Okay. Macam ni jugalah. Everything explanation yang ada explain tadi dia ada dalam ni kalau you tak ingat. So dalam for fixed asset ni, it can be stated either using fixed asset ataupun gross value or even book value. So untuk untuk gross ni usually dia akan includes together with depreciation. Okay, kalau net value selalunya dia dah tolak the depreciation inside di dalam fixed asset tu lah. Okay, and then we have liabilities whereby you have to pay within 1 year. Okay, non-current kalau long term anything more than 1 year lah. Okay, beyond 1 year masuk dalam long term liabilities. No, ni example tadi lah. Ada pasal bond, mortgages, hire purchase tadi, lease. So debentures ni sebenarnya macam bond juga, part of bond, and then also long term loans. Okay, and lastly, owner's equity pun ada cerita tadi. Now we move on to the second statement that we will explore, which is the income statement. So similar like balance sheet, dia akan cover one whole year period. Okay, and dia punya ending tu must be consistent with the balance sheet. So kalau dia end 31st December in the balance sheets, the income statement akan end in the 31st December as well. So dia akan sync between balance sheet and income statement. Okay, so these are the parts. Dia akan ada income, revenues. So this is all the inflows, duit masuk. Okay, sales and any other income. And then we have costs and expenses incurred. So this is all the outflows. Duit keluar. So ni duit masuk, this is outflows. And for costs and expenses incurred, it involve all the expenses or asset use, consumed in the process of generating revenues for the company. So banyaklah costs and expenses, salaries, marketing costs, transportation costs. So all of those costs incurred in order to generate revenues. So at the end of the day, you're going to see whether the company has profits ataupun loss. So if the revenues is more than expenses, then obviously profit lah. Tapi kalau the other way around, meaning revenue dia lagi kurang daripada cost, dia akan suffer loss. Okay. Income statement we will always start with sales and revenue. This will be our first item. Okay, sales and revenue. And this sales and revenue akan consist both cash ataupun credit. So bukan masuk kalau credit sales tak masuk dalam ni, kita akan record every transactions dalam revenue. Walaupun kita jual secara credit. Meaning customer berhutang dengan kita tapi kita dah buat jualan, we do our sales. Kita akan record di dalam account receivable. But from income statement, kita akan record dalam inilah sales ataupun revenues ni. So once you've record the sales and revenues, the first item yang kita akan deduct in the form of cost, which is this one, cost of goods sold. Okay, cost to produce goods or services ataupun sometimes cost to acquire. Kalau kita tak involve dalam business of production, takkan kita nak produce kan. So cost of untuk acquire. Okay, acquire product tu lah, goods or services. Contoh apa nak bagi stapler ni lah, nampak stapler. Okay, stapler ni So let's say this stapler cost dia RM1, RM1 stapler ni, and bila I dah beli from my supplier, I jual pada harga RM5 contohnya stapler ni. So untuk sales dengan revenue, I akan record dia RM5 per unit. Okay, RM5 per unit, I akan record dia dalam sales revenue. So RM5 darablah katakanlah I jual 100,000 unit. So dapatlah RM500,000 as my sales ataupun revenue. So RM5 darab 100,000 units. But the base would be RM5. And cost ni I beli daripada my supplier adalah RM1. So RM1 I beli from my supplier times with 100,000 yang I jual. So my cost of goods sold would be RM100,000. So 500,000 minus 400,000, minus 100,000, I have a 400,000. Okay, tapi itu bukan profit bersen, it's not a net profit, tapi itulah first level of profit. Okay, first level of profit. Okay, dipanggil gross profit, untung kasar. Okay, RM5 minus RM1, so RM4 per unit, darab 100,000. That's my gross profit. So yang RM1 tadi tu, itulah dia cost of goods sold. Cuma I tak produce, I tak buat sendiri ni. I beli from my supplier. So cost untuk acquire this is RM1. Sama lah, dia masuk dalam COGS juga, cost of goods sold. Okay, once ada gross profits, okay, revenue atau cost of goods sold, kita akan dapat gross profit kat sini in between. Okay, selepas dapat gross profit, kita akan tolak all the operating expenses. Operating expenses. Yang ni adalah marketing cost, admin cost, termasuklah payable cost. Payable cost ni macam salary contohnya. Admin cost ni pun boleh kalau masuk utilities, kalau ada kena bayar utilities kan, all the electricity, water, internet, everything masuk dalam operating expenses. So any cost relating to your operation masuk dalam ni. So once you have gross profit, next you minus operating expenses. Okay, so this would be, selepas tolak ni kita akan dapatlah so the second level of profit selepas gross is operating profit. So macam mana dapat operating profit? Gross profit minus operating expenses. Then we get operating profits. Okay, so after we have this operating profit, okay, nama lain ni sebenarnya ada satu lagi nama lain for operating profit. It's earning before interest and taxes. Okay, earning before interest and taxes. So once you have this, you minus interest. Selepas tu after you have this operating profit, you minus interest. Then you get the third level of profit, which is EBT. Earning before tax. Tadi earning before interest and taxes kan. So bila you dah bayar interest, you buang I tu. So tinggal EBT, earning before tax. Okay, so earning before tax ni penting for us to calculate our tax element. Okay, kalau you yang pembayar cukai, you know dalam kita ada masa lagi. Ada 10 hari siapa yang belum buat tax punya declaration, tax punya liability tu. Jumlah tax yang kita kena bayar adalah bergantung kepada what we call as chargeable income. So chargeable income tu datang daripada mana? Kita punya income and then kita tolak all the reliefs. Kita ada reliefs kan? Individual relief lah, lifestyle relief, everything. So last kita tinggal chargeable income. So chargeable income tu lah yang akan dikenakan cukai. Okay, so untuk company, dia tak ada chargeable income tapi dia ada earning before tax. So this earning before tax ni yang akan ditentukan ataupun akan menentukan berapa banyak tax yang dia kena bayar. Okay, so tax expenses ni, it depends on EBT. It's not based on gross. It's not based on operating. It's not even, operating dengan EBT ni sama. It's not based on these two, but it based on EBT. Selepas tolak interest. Why we tolak interest? Because interest is not taxable. Okay, financing cost. Ni cost kalau kita buat pinjaman ataupun cost kita issue bond, for example, dia ada interest yang kita kena bayar. So ini akan ditolak from our income untuk dapatkan EBT. So this EBT will be payable to the government lah. Okay, kalau kat Malaysia melalui LHDN sebagai hasil. So once you've paid the tax element, so barulah kita dapat untung yang terakhir, which is net profit. Okay, ataupun earning after tax. Kalau tadi ada earning before tax, Ini earning after tax ataupun net profit. So ni dah berlaku selepas kita tolak tax, dan inilah baru consider untung yang bersih. Okay, after deducting the tax. Okay, itu tak termasuk kalau company yang bayar zakat. So kalau tax ada, sometimes company bayar zakat juga. So you kena minus jugalah kat dalam tu before kita dapat net profit. Okay, so you boleh tambah satu lagi bullet lah kalau ada zakat. Okay, baru dapat net income lah last kali ni yang betul tercover pula sini. Net income, which is income ni lah yang akan distribute kepada shareholders. Kalau you ingat I lukis juga, ada delete ni. Net profit ni kan dia distribute kepada dividend, shareholders, and then return earning. So that's the net income ataupun net profit lah. Okay, distribute to the shareholders. Okay, so so this again would be the format untuk exam. Okay, the format for exam. Cuma untuk tu lebih kurang sama sebenarnya. Dia akan start with revenues minus cost of goods sold, dapat gross profit as I said, tolak operating expenses, dapat operating income ataupun EBIT. Then tolak interest, dapat EBT, tolak tax, dapat net income, and this net income dia akan bayar dividend to preferred and common stockholders, and balance akan masuk dalam return earnings. Okay, so that's how it works lah for the income statement. Okay, similarly, this nama dia pun masih income statement for this quick finance house. Again, dia ada group and bank. Macam saya cakap lah, kalau you pilih bukan bank, dia akan letak ni group and company. Okay, 2 years of information. And as I said, kita akan selalunya gunakan group punya data lah untuk kita analyse. So item ni lebih kurang sama lah. Dia ada revenues, other incomes, dia dapat the total gross income, tolak all the expenses. So ni consider expenses dia. Personnel ni termasuklah gaji pekerja semua dalam ni other expenditures, finance cost. Ingat finance cost ni, this is interest ataupun kalau bukan interest, sebab dalam kalau you gunakan Islamic punya transaction, dia tak panggil interest kan. So it is finance cost. So remember tadi EBIT minus interest kan. So nama lain pada interest is finance cost. So untuk company ni tak ada profit, dia ada loss before zakat and taxation. So dia ada zakat, dia ada tax juga. Then company ni suffer loss untuk tahun 2 tahun ni lah. Sekarang I pun dah tak monitor performance dia. And then dia adalah the equitable to shareholders berapa. Yeah, so that's about it for the two statements. So kita ada about 20 minutes ni. Memang tak sempat nak cover semua lah, but tak apa. Kita akan explore the ratios. Kalau tak semua pun, at least you dah dapat idea dia the financial ratios and analysis. So this is the topic 3 yang kita akan guna pakai for your assignment, group assignment. So your group assignment akan based on this. Okay, yang tadi tu semua just preparation in order to understand and finally kita calculate. Okay, so under financial ratio analysis, there are 3 parts. First, we're gonna discuss about the types of financial ratios. Kat sini nanti kita akan dapat ada 5 kategori 5 categories of ratios. How to analyze it, the format of analysis. There are 3 types of analysis. And obviously, we have some limitations. Okay, obviously, there's every financial ataupun economic analysis is all based on assumptions. So, akan ada limitation lah when we assume certain things. So, what is financial ratios? So, financial ratios involve analyzing current performance ataupun past performances. Okay, usually for us as external parties, kita hanya boleh measures past performances saja based on actual. Yang ni yang dah dipublish lah. So kalau untuk current performance ni selalunya diguna pakai for internal. Okay, managers of the company, dia ada current data, then they can measure current performance. But for us, kita akan measure based on actual statement, which is yang dah publish ya. Publish items ataupun publish document. Therefore, we just can measure past performances. So for example, now is 2021. So obviously 2021 punya information tak ada. In fact, bulan April ni nak cari data for 2020 pun some company tak ada lagi. Ataupun most of the companies tak publish lagi. So as of 2021 early, like today, kita hanya ada data sampai 2019. So that's why kita hanya boleh measure past performances. Okay, based on yang dah published. Okay, as of now, latest 2019. Okay, but wait until maybe next month or June nanti akan dah banyak lah yang 2020 punya. By now ada je yang dah publish by the way, 2020 punya data. Okay, but ada banyak juga yang belum published. Okay, especially yang 31st December punya statement lah. Siapa yang end 31st December belum ada lagi. Tapi siapa yang end katakanlah June 2020 dah ada lah statement tu sekarang. Alright. So who utilize these financial ratios? Investors. So siapa yang nak invest, dia boleh measure ataupun boleh study the financial ratios. This is from an external point of view. Managers is from internal yang akan measure the performance currently. And also any other parties. Okay, any other parties termasuklah you all akan jadi interested parties kat sini sebab kena buat assignment contohnya. Right? So you will analyze and interpret the financial positions and performance. So kalau you ingat financial position ni tadi is balance sheet, financial performance is actually income statement. So kita akan gunakan items from both statements to calculate the ratios and kita akan interpret what are the results meant. Okay, so by this analysis, kita boleh identify whether the financial standing of the company is it in good condition or not. Okay, so very important for finance managers to uncover trends. Okay, especially if you do trend analysis by tahun kan, kita boleh tengok lah performance dia menaik ataupun menurun. And for managers, this can be a trigger point for them to take appropriate actions. Okay, untuk correct lah any problems and also to maximize jugalah the shareholders' wealth. Okay, don't worry, like I said, for sure kita takkan habis 3.1 ni today. Dia lah topic 3 ni today sebab ada banyak ratio ni So I'll try to finish at least 2 categories kalau sempat. Okay, we have 5 categories as I said. Kita ada liquidity, leverage, activity, profitability and also market. And setiap satu kategori ni dia ada pecahan dia. Liquidity for example, we have 3 ratios, 3 additional ratios ataupun 3 types of ratios. Average, we have 3 ratios lagi. So bila you combine all of this, dia ada about 20 something ratios. Okay, ada 20 something ratios. Okay, so that's why memang tak sempat lah nak cover semua every day by today. So I'll try to finish at least the first 2, liquidity and also leverage. Okay, so first we look at liquidity. So liquidity ratios measures the availability of the firm's liquid resources, okay, to pay current and maturing liabilities on time. So there are 2 parts here, availability of the firm's liquid resources. So what does it mean by liquid resources? This means current assets. So dia nak measure the level of current asset liquid ke tak, number 1. And at the same time, dia nak measure whether this current assets enough or not to pay current and maturing liabilities. So this is your current liabilities. So that's liquidity ratios. Nak tengok current assets sufficient to pay current liabilities or not. That's it. Itu je. And as a basic rule, the higher the ratios, the better for the company lah, because they have ataupun they represent higher ability to pay. Okay. However, excessive liquidity may indicate too much investment in current assets. Ni kalau terlalu tinggi lah, if excessive, it is meant inefficient. Why inefficient? Sebab, as you all know, dalam current asset kita ada cash tadi kan. So cash ataupun any other instruments yang dalam current asset selalunya represents, okay, current asset mana tu ya? Sini. Current asset represent low returns kind of assets. Asset yang sama ada tak bagi any returns ataupun kalau ada pun low returns. For example, kalau cash. Kalau you simpan cash, it is a type of non-earning asset. Non-earning. Non-earning. When we said non-earning maknanya kalau kita simpan aset ni tak generate any income. Cash, for example. You keep 100,000 in your cash vaults, peti besi, 100,000. Esok, you tengok 100,000 lagi. Next week, you tengok still 100,000. Okay, but if you invest that money somewhere else, then baru kita akan dapat dia punya earnings ataupun dia punya returns. Okay, but for current assets, selain daripada cash, kita ada other types of instruments. Okay, macam marketable securities, walaupun kita boleh invest yang short term, tapi return dia selalunya minimal. Very low returns. So that's why, if you have too many current assets, hutang ada sikit tapi current asset ada banyak. So this is where we set excessive liquidity. Okay. So kalau excessive liquidity, bermaksud you punya assets tak generate enough income. So you should remove ataupun you should allocate these current assets kepada tempat yang lain. Sebab dia tak produktif lah. Dia tak seproduktif kalau you invest in fixed assets. Sebab fixed asset boleh generate income banyak. Kan, kalau you invest in machineries, so machine tu boleh produce goods boleh jual, so boleh generate income. Ataupun you invest kat luar, okay, invest kat tempat lain katakanlah, in any other types of investment, you can generate income juga. Okay, so that's why, tapi at the same time, you kena cari balance lah between ada cukup and ada lebih. Right, so kalau you tak cukup pula, nanti akan ada problems untuk bayar short term liabilities. Okay. So that's the dilemma, I can say. Not really dilemma sebenarnya, tapi the things that you need to consider, whether to have too little cash ataupun too many. So in our case, kita kena at least ada, kita kena cover the liabilities. So here are the three types of liquidity ratios. Kita ada current ratio, quick and net working capital. So the keyword untuk remember the ratio, okay, is from the first ratio, which is the word current. Okay, the word current. In fact, masa I cerita tadi pun, kita dah ada current asset, current liabilities. So therefore, all of these all three ratios under liquidity akan mengguna pakai current assets and current liabilities je, items je. Kita akan pakaikan these two elements. Okay, so let's look at the first one, current ratio. So the formula is current assets divided by current liabilities. Okay, this is a measurement of a short-term solvency and indicates the extent to which the claims of short-term creditors are covered by the current assets. So kita nak make sure the current assets is more than current liabilities. Usually dia bagi kat sini lah, it's around 1.5 times. Dia punya ratio, average. So for every ratio, as I said, I akan bagi formula ya. And I bagi explanation kat bawah ni. Okay, we have the explanation kat bawah ni. Okay, bear with me sekejap Okay. Like I said, this paper dah tak ada final exam for quite some time already. The last adalah December 2018. This was the last final exam that we have. Selepas December 2018, maknanya 2019 onwards, until today, we don't have final exam for FIN420 anymore. Okay, so kita terpaksa menggunakan apa final exam yang ada lah as our guideline ataupun as our reference untuk buat exercise. So that's why I share with you 5 years of final exam juga untuk kita guna untuk buat exercise. Okay, I tak guna ni untuk exam lah. I guna ni untuk exercise je. So contohnya macam ni. Okay. The first question masa final exam selalunya memang mengenai financial ratios. Okay, and in the question, they will provide you both statements. For this part, we have statement of financial position, which is the balance sheets. Kita ada assets and liabilities and equities on the right hand side. And we also have statement of financial performance, okay, ataupun income statement. from sales revenue, tolak semua sampai net income. Okay, so the two statements will be given macam ni. Okay, but for you guys, kita tak ada final exam kan, but you have to extract these two statements from the annual reports lah untuk your group project. Okay, and the question ada 20 markah. So 12 marks comes from computation. Okay, the first part is so you compute all the ratios, the relevant ratios. And second, to evaluate. Okay, evaluate the performance of the company based on the categories lah. Kita ada liquidity, activity, profitability, and also leverage. So 8 marks. And then dia dah bagi kat sini. Ada 4 kat sini, 4 here. So we have 8 ratios that you need to calculate. Okay, even though we have 20 something ratios, during the final exam last time, they just asked you to calculate 8 ratios. 8 ratios saja. Okay, and these 8 ratios can be random lah from time to time. So we go back to our first ratio, which is current ratio. So remember the current ratio formula dia adalah current assets divided by current liabilities. Dia tak label like my notes tadi. Kalau you ingat kat mana tadi? Kat sini tadi bear with me. Okay, kalau dalam balance sheet ni tadi dia dah split kan, current, fixed, current liabilities. Okay, most of the time dia tak label macam ni lah. Dia akan letak semua dalam satu macam ni with no labeling. So your task is to identify item ni belong to which category. Okay, some of them very obvious. Okay, macam contohnya macam ni lah. Ya, ada gap kat sini tengah-tengah ni. So it indicates to you that this is your current assets. This is your fixed asset. Remember, kita kena ada 5 categories tadi. Current assets, fixed assets. Kat sini kena ada current liabilities. So mana satu yang masuk dalam current liabilities, kena check satu-satu. Notes payable. Okay, sampai other current liabilities. So the first 4 ni lah current liabilities. Long-term debt is your long-term liabilities. And the 5th category, common stock dengan retaining. This is your equity. Okay, so you can ada 5 ni, 5 kategori. So first thing you need to do is to label. Okay, you need to label them. Okay, so next, what you need to do is to find the values for respective categories. So for example, current asset, formula tadi current asset bagi current liabilities kan. So you need to know how much is actually the current assets. So for example, current assets ada 25,000, 30,000, 50 and so on. So you add lah semua tu, 25 plus 30 plus 50 plus 12,000. So you have here 117,000. 25, 30, 50, 12. So bila you add all 4 items, you get 117,000 as your current assets. Okay, so for your current liabilities pula, we have 4 items as well. So 16,000 plus 4 plus 10 plus 40,000. So you have, betul kan, 44,000. So ni 250. Ni 220. Ni kalau you nak kira lah. Your equity is 172,700 plus 33,000. 203,000. So ni 103,000. On term dia hanya satu item lah, 120,000. Okay, but the rest kita tak fokus lagi lah. We are focusing more on current asset and current liabilities. Sekejap bear with me 1 second. Okay. So the first ratio just now, it's current ratio. Okay, current ratio. And the formula is current assets divided by current liabilities. Okay, so kita dah label, dah categorizekan dia, and we also have the items, the values. So what we need to do next is basically plug the information and then masukkan dalam formula lah. So for our current asset was 117,000 and our current liabilities 44,000. So simply bahagi je 117 divided by 44,000. So you have here 2.66 times. Okay, 2.66 times. So macam mana I tahu dia times? First dekat soalan dia bagi tahu. This is reference This is not the answer by the way. So this is our reference. Okay, tapi lagi satu kat dalam notes ni lah. For every notes, okay, selain daripada formula ni, okay, the answer dia akan beritahu lah in times ke, in percentage ke, in ringgit ke. Right? So here the answer in time is not X, in times. And the higher the ratio reflects the ability to pay short-term obligations on time. Okay, so what can we use dia punya interpretation kat bawah tu dengan kita punya result tadi. Okay, so every ratio like I said, kalau you browse through nanti, semua ratio ada dia punya apa? Explanation kat bawah tu. So what you need to do is to apply this dekat sini lah. You kena comment, you boleh comment kat bawah ni. The score is 2.66 untuk company ni Apa nama company tadi? Motorist. Sorry, this one. The company nama dia is ABM Motorist Berhad. Okay, so this is the company. We are calculating their performance, this company's punya performance. And we have the industry average ratio. So this is our point of reference. Kita kena compare result company ni against the industry average. Okay, so I recap balik The one yang you tengok dalam soalan, this is not the answer yang you should dapat bila you calculate, you bukan dapat ni jawapan dia. This is our reference untuk compare. Right, so for current ratio for example, the company's ratio is 2.66 and the industry average is 2.5. Okay, 266 is higher than 2.5. Okay, so what does it mean? Okay, for liquidity ratios yang ada 3 tadi current, quick dengan net working capital, the higher the ratios, the better for the company. Okay, the higher the ratios, the better for the company. Right, ketiga-tiga ni lah current, quick dengan net working capital, the higher the ratio, the better. So dalam case ni, ABM Motorist has 2.66, industry average is 2.5. So obviously the performance of the company is better than the industry average. So how to write the comment? Okay, how to write the comment So you kena bear with me I kena tukar-tukar nak tunjuk kat you So this is the comment yang you boleh guna. Okay, the higher the ratio reflects the ability to pay short-term obligations on time. Okay, so the keyword kat sini is ability to pay. So what kind of ability? You boleh tulis macam ni lah. Okay, ABM Motorist has a better ability to pay its short-term obligations on time, okay, as compared to the industry average. Sebab kita compare against industry average kan. Okay, kalau you nak compare against company yang lain, you boleh cakap lah ABM Motorist has a better ability to pay short-term obligations on time as compared to company B, for example. Cuma dalam case ni you compare against industry average. Tapi macam contohnya dalam your project nanti kan, you ada 4 companies. So dia akan compare against the competitors lah selalunya. Selalunya for ratios ni, we have to compare companies within the same industry. Dia tak boleh compare satu company from bank, satu lagi from hotel, for example, tak boleh. It's not fair to compare that way. bila nak buat comparison, it must come from companies within the same industry. Okay, within the same industry. So this is how we do it. First, we calculate like this, and then we comment. So the comment ni you boleh refer dekat notes kat bawah ni lah. Okay, notes kat bawah ni. Okay, quickly ya, Mas. Maknanya satu kategori je boleh buat ni. So the second category is quick ratio. Ataupun second type under liquidity, quick ratio. So quick ratio, we still use current asset, current liabilities. Okay, cuma kita tolak inventory and kita tolak prepaid expenses. Okay, so CA minus inventory minus prepaid expenses. But still we divide with current liabilities. So meaning we already have our current assets tadi, 117,000. Okay, but we need to deduct these two, inventories and prepaid expenses, maknanya 62,000. So basically sebenarnya kita hanya ambil cash dengan receivable sahaja. So if you look at this, 117 minus these two is actually this first two sahaja. Sebab figure dia senang so it's 55,000 kat sini. Alright, 25 plus 30, 55,000. And we divide with 44,000 current liabilities earlier. So here we get 55 divided by 44. Sorry, 55 divided by 44 is 1.25 times. Okay, again, there's a quick ratio punya industry average kat sini. It's 1.2. So again, this company has a slightly better ability to pay short-term obligations on time, okay, as compared to the industry average. However, we are now not relying on inventories and prepaid expenses. So that's why dekat notes kat sini, patutnya boleh tambah, lupa tambah. Answer in time, higher ratio reflect the ability to pay short-term obligations on time without relying on inventories and prepaid expenses. Boleh tambah kat situ. So everything is the same. ABM motorists has a better ability to pay short-term obligations on time, tambah without relying on inventories and prepaid expenses as compared to the industry average. Okay, sebab untuk quick ratio ni, dia also dipanggil acid test ratio. So when we set acid test ratio, dia nak measure firm's ability to pay short-term obligation, cuma dia nak kira without relying on the least liquid assets. So inventory and prepaid expenses are considered least liquid. Yang paling tak liquid adalah dua benda ni. So therefore, kalau tak ada dua benda ni, nak tengok company ni still can survive or not. So that's why dia lagi strict lah dia punya test. That's why it's also known as acid test. Okay, so dalam case ni, ABM motorist tak ada inventories, tak ada prepaid expenses, still have enough assets untuk bayar current liabilities. So meaning the company is very, very liquid lah, very strong in terms of liquidity. So meaning they can survive lah without the two, they still mampu bayar balik. Sebab ingat current liabilities ni hutang yang dia kena bayar balik. So current asset ni represent current assets yang dia ada. So without these two pun maknanya dia cukup untuk bayar. Okay, and the third one, the last one for liquidity is net working capital. Okay, net working capital. Net working capital still kita guna current asset, current liability, cuma kita minus. Current asset minus current liabilities. And this current asset take the whole bukan yang quick tadi we take the 117,000 tadi. So meaning 117,000 minus 44,000. So 73,000 ringgit. So this is the absolute measurement. So maknanya lebihan cash dia ataupun lebihan aset dia adalah sebanyak 73,000. So meaning this company has excess of 73,000 to pay its short-term obligations. Okay. So cuma untuk dalam comparison, the question doesn't provide us the net working capital. So therefore we cannot compare. So we just have this figure je lah. Kita tak boleh, kalau masa final exam masa ni, we don't have to calculate pun net working capital sebab it's not part of the questions. But for the illustration purpose, this is how we calculate the net working capital. 73,000. Okay, so net working capital, we want it to be positive lah. Okay, by the way, kalau Malaysia ringgit lah, the higher the better. So we want it to be positive and a measurement ataupun absolute measurement of liquidity. So the berapa ringgit excess itulah your measurement of liquidity. Kalau you ada negative values, it indicates that you don't have enough cash ataupun enough current assets. Okay, so higher ringgits is desirable again. Okay, so that's our first category. So I think that's about it for today. Tak sempat nak masuk second category, tak apa. Kita akan continue in our next meeting. Right, sorry for the extended version lah. I terlebih 5 minit kat sini. So for those yang tak register your attendance, please do so. You ada lagi 10 minit ni nak register your attendance, siapa yang belum. So kita akan continue with the rest of our ratios. Okay, kita ada 4 categories lagi. Kita akan continue next meeting lah, next meeting. And after next meeting tu, sebenarnya by now you dah boleh try to form your groups already. Okay, tapi I akan post dalam future nanti the instructions and also what's the next move. Sebab lepas you form group, you kena pilih industry, pilih company. Okay, semua group akan ada different companies. Different companies, automatically different industry jugalah. So kalau you buka dalam Bursa Malaysia tu, you boleh tengok the categories of industries. So ada macam-macam. Ada healthcare, ada consumer products, ada property, ada apa lagi ya? Financial. Kalau boleh jangan buat bank lah, tapi if you want to, dia akan ada different sikit lah dia punya information tu. But yeah, try to avoid that one. Tapi there's a lot more industries dalam Bursa Malaysia tu. So you can pick there so that you have different industries for all the groups, and setiap groups akan ada 4 ke 5 orang macam itulah. So bila 4-5 orang, you will have 4 or 5 companies to choose. Alright, so that's about it for today. Thank you very much for your time. So insyaAllah I'll see you guys bila next meeting. Bulan puasa dah masa tu selamat berpuasa juga. So in 2 weeks time kot So I'll see
25.
Yeah, 25. So insyaAllah I'll see you guys on the 25th for our finishing of this topic, and then kalau sempat kita go through the next topic lepas tu. Alright. Okay, thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay.